And we're delighted that you're joining us today because it's the 18th of May and that is now World Therapeutic Horticulture Day. So this is the very first one, and Trellis is delighted to be involved in instigating this World Day, and we're very delighted that you're here with us. So it's dedicated to highlight the numerous therapeutic benefits of horticulture and gardening, such as improved mental health and physical health, as well as the positive impact it can have on the environment. So therapeutic gardening embraces the healing power of nature to promote physical and emotional well-being, and it involves using plants, gardens and nature to help people improve their health, well-being and quality of life. So the aims of the day today is just to raise awareness about the use of therapeutic horticulture throughout the world, and the skilled practitioners who work in this field and the benefits that this brings to society. And it's also about connecting and partnering with other groups around the world that are focused on horticulture or garden therapy and other nature and plant-based interventions. So welcome to this worldwide family. And we'd like to invite you to share any photos or videos of your gardening activities to celebrate on social media today and for the rest of this week. And I think Joan is going to maybe post some links for us in the chat. If you want to read some more about it, you can click on the link there and see the hashtags later as well. So we're delighted to be here today. So today's session is about 45 to 60 minutes long, and we're going to encourage you to watch and pick up some techniques and ask lots of questions and share things about how you carry out this activity. And we hope we give you lots of ideas to take away and share with your colleagues and to actually garden with your clients. So you can use the chat throughout the session to type in questions and comments that you'd like to make, and we'll pick them up at the end in the Q&A session. And we can ask you to unmute and ask your question then as well as pop it in the chat. You can enable subtitles if you'd like. I think we've got that possible. So it's the three little dots at the bottom. If you click on that, the bottom of your Zoom screen, and you can enable your captions there if you like that. So enough of me, let's get started. I'm going to just run through a few slides just to set the scene and get us into the subject that we're going to be looking at today, and also it gives a bit of background and some hooks into conversation that you might want to use when you're encouraging your clients to take part in gardening activities like this, and especially ones with using herbs. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen with you. Just give me a little moment. Do that. Lovely, I hope you can all see that.
Yep, good.
That's great, thank you. Well, that's World Therapeutic Horticulture Day, as you can see. And we're trying to get a good following on social media with this, so we're having lots of fun with it. And back at the office, Emma and Lorna are busy posting and retweeting things, so it's great. Now, just get my slides to move. Here we go. Just to remind you, we have lots of free resources that you can access to help you with ideas and information on therapeutic gardening and activities that you can do. So if you have signed up for this session, you will already be on our email and newsletter list, but anybody else that wants to sign up, you can find a sign up at the bottom of our homepage. We also offer these free live demonstrations via Zoom, and these are CBD certificated, so if you attend you get a certificate to say that you have done so, and that's equivalent to 1 hour CPD. We also have lots of these sessions which are recorded, and also additional sessions that we have on lots of gardening activities on our YouTube channel. So if you want to watch something in your own time, or you want to go back and recap something that you've seen, it'll be available on the YouTube. You go onto our homepage and click on the YouTube icon and you'll get there. We also have lots of gardening activity sheets, or factivity sheets as we're beginning to call them now. And those are available to download free from our website too. So there's lots of opportunity there. Oops. And also, another resource I want to mention is this gardening activities book. So never be short of an ideas, one for every week of the year here, and it's step-by-step guides on easy to achieve tabletop gardening activities, and it's available from the Trellis shop, and there's a free postage code there as well that you're welcome to use. So, gardening is good for you. Why is that? Well, gardening is a way of connecting to nature, and the benefits to human well-being of connecting with nature mean that it gives a greater meaning and purpose in life. It also improves mental well-being, lots of giving greater vitality and happiness and more life satisfaction. That seems to be the general feeling of people who are involved in gardening. And so it's a fun and enriching way to enjoy life. And why is that? How does that happen? Well, gardening activities support well-being in several ways. And first of all, it helps to promote human connection. It gives an opportunity for people to get together and have be focused on a task and connect in that way. And there's lots of incidental conversations that can arise through being involved in a gardening activity, and those are very, very precious for human connection. It also gives an opportunity to be active, not just large muscle activity where you might be digging in the garden or raking or brushing or bending and lifting, but also it gives opportunities for small muscle practice as well. Also, just the act of standing up at a table to work is great for the core strength. So tabletop activities, also good practice for small muscles, as I said, and hand and eye coordination. So they're very good ways of practicing all of those things. Gardening activities also provide a very sensory experience, so people can take notice and be really immersed in the sensory experience of a gardening activity, and that can be very restorative. You get a holiday from your thoughts, you know, you get time away from your own being inside your. It's also an opportunity to learn. You can learn lots of new skills, soft skills as well as, and social skills as well as the gardening skills. And it's also a great opportunity to give time, to give support, to give your just give your time and a smile is can be very beneficial as well for people who don't often get an opportunity to do that. So that is how gardening activities can support well-being. So today we're looking at herbs, and they're very, very versatile. Joan's going to show us practically lots of different things that we can do, and really it's just lots and lots of activities you can do with herbs. And as I say, they're very sensory, so they lend themselves to lots of different activities. But herbs, what are they? A herb is really widely defined as any plant with a useful purpose. So they can be used in cooking, they can have medicinal purposes as well lots of practical applications, and we'll talk about that in a little while. So lots of plants. So activities with culinary herbs, well, you can grow them. There's lots of growing and cultivating that you can do if you're growing herbs. It's great for that. Lots of opportunity there. You can collect and use fresh herbs in cooking. You can dry herbs as well. That's a good way of preserving them, as well as freezing. They freeze too, so you can keep them and use them in the future. And you can also use them to flavour butters. You can make salsa, and you can preserve them in oils and vinegars to infuse them with the flavour too. And these oils and vinegars can be, you probably see them on sale in shops, but you can make them up yourselves in pretty bottles and decorate them, and they're a great thing to sell at fundraisers. So it's something to bear in mind. You might want to try that. Pizza, another excellent thing. We're going to talk about this today. And I was very interested. I thought, oh, pizzas, I wonder what the history of pizza is. Well, I traced the modern birthplace of pizza is Naples, I believe, back in the sort of 1700s, where it was started as a street food. So it was very inexpensive food that be consumed at any time of the day and eaten quite quickly outdoors. And so pizzas were flatbreads with toppings on them, and they used toppings such as tomatoes and anchovies and garlic, capers and all that kind of thing. So fantastic. That's been in use, been enjoying these kind of pizzas for many hundreds of years. Allegedly in 1889, King Umberto and Queen Margherita visited Naples, and they had a bit of a break from their French cuisine and tried the local delicacies, and Margherita fell in love with a pizza which had tomato and mozzarella and basil, and therefore we have the Margherita pizza. So that was fun to learn. And then in the beginning of the 20th century, lots of people emigrated to the USA and established, took their pizza making knowledge with them and established selling pizzas in America at that time. But it wasn't until after the Second World War that pizzas really became the worldwide phenomenon that they are now, and they were exported from America to well, across the globe now. I think globally pizzas must be quite a big business. So that was pizzas, and Joan's going to be talking about what to grow to make a pizza today. So wild plants used in food and medicine, they were used in food and medicine long before we had written records. In fact, sort of 4,000 years ago, it was believed the Babylonians were using herbs in their culture. About 200 herbs were introduced into Britain by the Romans and then grown on by monks in physic gardens and monasteries, so used for herbal medicine. And we've got a lovely record in this country in 1653, pulled together by Nicholas Culpeper, who created the complete herbal when he catalogued hundreds of medicinal herbs. And you can still find that in print today if you're interested to go and have a look at it. And so that was all the herbs that were used in medicine at that time. If you're a fan of Outlander, you may recognise Claire. This is set in the mid-1700s, and when Claire first meets Jamie, she is practicing as an apothecary, so using herbs to make medicine. So that it was very popular to use herbs for medicine during the 1800s, and lots of herbs were grown for medicinal purposes. So today we still use herbs in cooking and medicine, but also for decorative and fragrance and for cosmetic use. You know, everything from furniture polish to potpourri we use in our homes to enhance the smells and for our own use. So I'd like to recommend this resource. It's called the Herb Bible by Peter McCoy and Pamela Westland, and it's a really accessible directory of useful and easy to grow herbs, how to grow them, how to harvest them, preserve. It's got some recipes for cooking. It's got information on cosmetics, including bath preparations and creams and hand gels. So lots of things that you can make for sales of work and that type of thing, fundraising, and just to make and to use. Herbal remedies. It's got herbal teas, wreaths and garlands, candles, the furniture polish we were talking about, how to make soap and potpourri, and it's got loads and loads of information about and easy step-by-step instructions about making these things. So it's a terrific thing, and you could probably get a hold of a copy for about £5 if you Google and have a look online. It's quite easy to get a hold of. So that's a great resource if you want to do more with herbs. So have a go growing. You can grow herbs on the patio, the doorstep, the windowsill, indoors and outdoors. It's very sensory, as we said, and it's a great way to entice people outdoors to go out and pick the herbs or have a smell, or just go out and admire them. You know, have an outdoor table with herbs on. It's bring them up to people's height so that they can easily reach them. It's a great thing to do outside and attracts a lot of interest. So be creative with your herb planting. Indoors and outdoors on the windowsill. I love these colanders. I think they look really charming and jolly. So let's have a go with something like that. Or you can have a lovely theme on a windowsill or a planter. This one's a lovely gold, lots of golden coloured herbs and plants in there. And be creative in your planting outdoors in the ground. If you do a online search for herb gardens, you'll get loads and loads of ideas for designs and how to plant them up. So let that be your inspiration. There's so many ways to do it, and you'll find a way to suit your space or your patio or your windowsill. Fantastic range of ideas. Or for more inspiration, why not visit a herb garden? There's, for example, the Secret Herb Garden, which is near Edinburgh. But you can find all sorts of gardens to visit in Scotland and Scotland's Garden Scheme. If you have a look online, and that will show you gardens near you where you might get an opportunity to have a visit and admire what they have and enjoy it. So I just want to say enjoy World Therapeutic Horticulture Day, and happy gardening to everybody. Thanks for listening. So I'm going to...
Thank you, conga, over to the table now.
It was a good conga.
I'll chip up. If you hear a clatter, you know what it is.
No, it's you. I'm just going to spotlight you, Joan. I'm just going to hand over to Joan. She's going to be showing us all these beautiful herbs. Joan.
Okay, thank you, Jenny. That was really interesting. And that pizza looked amazing. And I have to say, you know, as much as our US friends have done a wonderful job of exporting the knowledge of pizzas worldwide, I still think the Italians have got it nailed. I'm sure there's a secret ingredient that they use, that they all sign a secrecy act or something the minute they're born, that they never share it, because Italian pizzas are definitely the best. But anyway, okay, so herbs, yeah. Herb plants offer so much from being just one plant. So a couple growing in your garden or on your patio is an absolute must. But the good news is that they are really relatively easy to grow. So even a complete novice gardener can be encouraged to have a go. Here we have chives. Jenny showed an image of them in her PowerPoint slides there. This is a plant from last year, so I've overwintered it, and I've kind of like cheated a wee bit. It's been indoors in my polytunnel for, well, I brought it indoors for about a month, for the month of February, just to sort of like give it a wee rest from the winter. So it's put on loads of growth, and in particular these flowers. And you can see all the old woody growth here that I've not cut off yet, just to show you what it looks like if it does get woody. But if you look in closer, you can see all the fine new green growth that's coming. So most herb plants are perennial, which means that they will grow year on year from the one plant. So this is a couple of years old now, this particular pot of chives. I just particularly like them. They are just these wee plumpy balls of purple flower. They're a wee bit thistle-like, so I don't know, maybe it's a nod to Scotland that I like about them, but they're very, very attractive. So as I said, these chives are growing in a pot, and generally in our Scottish climate, and in particular my West Coast soil conditions, herbs do better in raised beds or in pots containers. Most herbs prefer free draining soil and sunnier conditions. So having them in pots means that when I'm potting them up, I can put extra drainage material in with the compost to enable excess water to freely drain out of the holes at the bottom of the pots. And when the sun is out, I can make sure that the pot can be sitting in the spot that the sun will shine on for the better part of the day. And think about growing them in smaller containers if you can. It makes them easier to handle and pass them around if you were using herbs in a group activity. It just makes them easier to handle and pass them around, smell them, touch them, cut them and taste them. It's such a great way to combine fine motor skills and like that sensory stimulation that they provide, along with that all important opportunity for social interaction and conversation. And this wee basket here that I've just popped several herbs into, you know, like we've got mint, dill, some parsley here. You can see all the different colours and the texture. I mean, it's all the different colours. What I mean is all the different shades of green that we have. Who knew there were so many? And just like that, to me, that's just a visual feast that I want to get my hand in round about it. And I keep on saying this, Zoom have to perfect their smell picking up capacity, because I am just getting a beautiful, this hut is smelling gorgeous today, so it is. So that's those herbs there. So as Jenny said, I am going to demonstrate growing some herbs, and the first thing I want to show you is planting up a pizza bag. So what do we need? We need a sturdy poly bag like this. This is just a supermarket shopping bag. Other supermarket bags are available. So I've got my poly bag, and the only reason I'm using a poly bag is just to show that you don't need to have fancy pots or fancy baskets or anything like that. As long as it's something that will contain water and the compost, then we're on to a winner. We need scissors. I've just said it needs to hold on to the water and the compost, but we don't want the compost to be saturated. So we need to have some drainage holes in the bag. So I'm just going to make some snips in the bottom of the bag, and that will let excess water out but still hold the compost in. I have got some good quality general purpose compost here, and I've already had a lovely morning. I have taken the big clumpy bits out of the compost, and I've already broken them up. But as I'm putting the compost into my bag here, I'm still breaking up any of the other clumps that I might have missed first time around, because the roots of the plants are very fine, quite thread-like, and you're going to make sure that this new environment that you're putting them into is nice and comfortable and inviting for those little roots to wiggle round about and start growing and developing quickly. So, first plant I'm going to talk about is the oregano. If any of you have got good noses on you and you've walked into an Italian restaurant, you're hit straight away by a beautiful aroma. And in short, that is the smell of the oregano that the chefs will be cooking with, that you're picking up. Oregano is quite commonly known as the pizza herb. It is frequently used, in fact, it's always used for seasoning pizzas and pastas, and it's just such a lovely plant. It's got such nice wee even green leaves. It's a pretty wee thing. If you ideally you want to keep on snipping, harvesting the fresh young leaves, because they're the most tender, they're the juiciest, they're the most flavoursome. But if you do allow this plant to mature a little bit, it will develop shoots with pink flowers on them, which are very attractive to butterflies and bees. So I'm just going to squeeze. One hand is holding the foliage at the top, and I'm squeezing the bottom of the pot. Take my label to the side, and you can see this lovely root ball. It's just wanting to get into some more compost. I'm just going to wiggle that like so there. I'll keep the label to the side for the time being. My next plant, my next herb is going to be the chives that I'm going to put in my pizza bag. I was showing you the more mature chives just a couple of minutes ago. This is a young chive plant, and you can see how frondy, and the leaves are so much softer and strappier, and it's got that mild oniony smell and taste. It will eventually put on flowers if I let it mature. But my idea is I'm going to keep on harvesting this so that I'm getting the benefit of that lovely tender leaf that I can use in egg dishes, potato dishes in particular. And of course, Jenny mentioned that we can dry herbs. We can chop up the chives if they're getting too much for us to actually use in the kitchen at the time, dry them off, and then layer them with salt flakes in a clean, dry jam jar that's got a tight fitting lid, and put the lid on it and pop it in the fridge, and you will have chive infused salt to add to your cooking. And it's really flavoursome and really cheap and easy to do, and it's a lovely activity, an extension activity to introduce into your gardening activity also. Now, because this plant is a wee bit more delicate, I'm going to say, I'm just going to pop it complete with its pot into the basket, or into the bag, I should say, sorry. Just like so for the time being. And my third plant I'm going to put into my pizza bag is the basil. Now, I have to be honest, basil is probably the trickiest herb I try to grow. It's native to tropical regions from Central Africa to Southeast Asia. And so you'll understand it's not really easy to mimic those growing conditions here in Scotland. It really needs sun and free draining soil and absolutely no deluges of cold water. Basil made its way to Europe via the spice trade from India, where the Italians in particular found it flavoursome to pair with their tomatoes, cheeses and garlic. So hence another favourite for this pizza bag. Just pull my label out just now. And again, this wee plant's a wee bit on the wee side to be taken out of its pot before I do my next thing. So I'm just going to pop it in the side here. So I'm going to use my mug here, because what I want to do is take my compost and I'm just going to fill it in the sides round about all the root ball of this bigger oregano plant, round about the pots of the slightly smaller chives and basil. Just tipping in round about. Now, using a mug or a spoon or a smaller mug like this one might be a wee bit better to get into this corner here. Might help those that are less anxious about getting their hand into the compost or not sure how to put it in. As you can see, there's not an exact science here. I'm just filling up and I'm sugaring the bag a little bit to help settle the compost. Twiddle this round so you can maybe see what I'm doing around here. Another mug, and I think that will do me. Just use my fingers now to fill in the gaps round about. Another wee drop round in here. And I'm making sure the compost is going into the corners of the bag, because I want the bag to sit flat when I take it outside and it doesn't tip over. So I'm now going to pull out the pot, complete with the chive plant in it. And you might see, in fact, if I pot that, you can see that I've left an indentation. Just going to gently pull this wee plant out. Oh, look at these lovely roots. You can see here how thread-like they are, and that's why it's important that we have the compost as friable as possible. And all I'm going to do now is just pop that wee root ball back into the hole that it came out of. And that just makes it so much more easier and supportive to encourage folks to have a go and not be worried about doing something wrong. Same thing with the basil. Pull it out, wiggle, and then I'm going to pop this root ball back into its little hole. I'm going to put my labels now back in beside the plants, because we might have visitors to the garden one day that I'm not here to tell them what they are, and this will give them the information that they might need to get involved with the herbs themselves. And I'm just going to put a wee bit more round about. Just firming it in, round that side, round here. You might have noticed I'm not bringing the compost right up to the edge of the lip of the bag, so that when I come to water, I can water down into the compost and the compost will not cascade over the side of the bag, keeping my patio nice and clean and keeping the water where I want it to go. I want it to grow, I want it to go into the compost, into where the roots are, so the roots get to drink it out. Remembering that we've already got some holes in the bottom of the bag to let excess water out. Now, tip, basil. Always water it with warm water, not hot water, not water that's boiled, but water that's perhaps sat in the sunshine for a wee while to take that cold edge off of it. Cold water kind of shocks it and kind of like makes it keel over. And never water over the foliage, always water into the compost. So when I'm watering my basil, I do have a bigger washing can than this outside, but I've brought this one in to show you. It's got a small point on it. I don't use the rose head where like the spray would go over all the foliage. I'm taking the rose head off and using the wee pointy nozzle, and I'm putting it straight into the compost so that the water is going into the compost and not going over the leaves, particularly of the basil, but I try to treat all my herbs the same way. So that there. So there we have our pizza in a bag. So I'm just going to lift this up and put that over there. And I wasn't paying too close attention to who's all joined the meeting there, Jenny, I'm sorry. But some of you might have been with us a week or two. When did we do tomatoes and marigold, Jenny? I can't remember.
That must be 2 weeks ago.
This was the tomato plant. It was a tumbling tomato that we potted up in a hanging basket. And I just wanted to show folks how it's coming on. Got lots of wee yellow flowers coming. That's the tomato fruits starting to develop. And the marigolds that I planted as companion plants, my goodness, look at the size of them. They're like Triffid marigolds. They're fabulous. So I wanted to show you the tomato plant because I'm going to be using my tomatoes to make a lovely passata to mix through my basil with my herb bag. So you know what I'm going to be doing for the next few months is eating pizza till the cows come home. So there we have that one. Now, perhaps you don't have the need to grow your own pizza, but given the herbs have such sensorial qualities, we can put them to good use in a sensory basket. So this is a wee basket that my mum had in her hut that I claimed for my own. I was going to use it, but I realised it was a wee bit wee for what I was wanting to do. So I went and dug out my old basket that I used last year. It's a wee bit tired, it's a wee bit sort of like discoloured because this poor basket lives outside and it gets all the rain that's going with it, but it's still in good nick. But I might give it a wee lick of paint, and I guess that's another extension activity we could talk about as well. Just titivating up pots and planters. You don't have to renew everything every year. Now, the basket has obviously got holes in the wicker weaving that's going on here. So I've put a coir liner in it to catch the compost and water to save it all eking out through these holes. Now, sometimes the coir liner can be a wee bit thin and lets too much water out. So what I've done is I've just got a piece of plastic here. I've no idea what this would be, packaging or something, or a big envelope that something would come in. And I've cut a few slits in it. You can maybe see that. And I'll just put that in, and that's going to help hold on to water, but still let water get out, if that makes sense. It's that fine balance between having enough water for the plant to have enough moisture for it to grow and take in food from the compost, but not have so much water that the roots are actually suffocating, they're drowning in the water. So this will work beautifully for me. So I've got my basket, I've got my liner, and same thing, I've got just the same compost, a good general purpose compost, and I'm just going to whisk in some of the compost using my mug here. Now again, depending on your client group, wearing gloves could be the only way to go to ensure that they're keeping their hands as clean as possible. But if you are using the compost, just make sure you're giving your hands a good wash afterwards, and all should be well. So what am I going to put in my sensory basket? First one I'm going to put in is the sage. Bitter and spicy, that's how I would describe its taste, but absolutely delicious, and sage and onion stuffing, and my mum has got the most amazing recipe if you would like it. But have you ever tried a sage and cheddar cheese toastie? That is amazing. If you've never done it, you must do that. So I'm using the sage, this is a purple sage in my sensory basket, because I just love its kind of elongated purpley green leaves. It's got that kind of fuzzy appearance and cotton-like texture, and you can see the new leaves that are developing here. They've kind of got a silver underside to them. It's just such an interesting plant to look at and handle, and it's maybe not the most common of herbs. It's used a lot in cooking, but maybe not one that we grow so much at home. So I'm going to wiggle that into the compost. Same thing, I've kept it in its pot for the time being. I'm just going to wiggle it there. In fact, no, I'm going to put it to the side, like so. I'm allowed to change my mind. So that's that one sat there. Next up is what's this one here? We've got the lemon balm. Now I call this the noisy herb, because for some reason I think that's really crinkly. I think that's really noisy, crinkly. And it's just a lovely plant, and it's the one that you've got to touch, because the more you touch it, the more the perfume is released from the leaves, and it is highly scented. It's called lemon balm, and it is very lemony. Rub them and your hands are so perfumed. Now, in days gone by, long before deodorants were invented, poor folks who couldn't afford the luxury of a bar of soap and who had to make do with a slush about with some cold water, on their way to work, if they passed through gardens that had lemon balm growing in it, they would do that very thing. They would get their hands, rub the lemon balm, the leaves, and then they would rub their hands over their body, over their clothes, and that would be, in my mind, that was the invention of deodorant. Only they put it on top of their clothes. And that would sort of like ward off any whiffy smells that maybe had accumulated since they last had their cold bath. So this is lemon balm, beautiful. Do what I suggest with the chives, dry the leaves, layer it off with layers of salt flakes, and keep it in your fridge. Make sure the lid's really, really tight so there's no moisture getting in there. And see something simple like a plain chicken breast, sort of rubbed in with the lemony salt over it and just grilled or done in the oven. It's just like the nicest lemon chicken you'll ever have. You'll never go to a Chinese takeaway for one ever again. So same thing, I'm going to wriggle this one out. Oh, look at all the roots kicking out of here already, desperate to get growing. Pop the label there. And I've pulled this one out because I'm going to pop this one in at the side here. So that one's still in its pot, but this one's just gone straight in without its coat. Next sensory plant is my chamomile. Eye-catching, feathery, frondy foliage. I just love it. It just calls out to be touched and handled. Now it produces dinky wee white flowers that can be used in teas, or if you don't need to do that with them, leave them. And ladybirds in particular really like these plants and flowers. And hoverflies also. Now hoverflies are good bugs in the garden because they eat all the garden aphids, which are generally considered are the bad bugs. So I'm just going to pop this wee one in its pot, just like so. And the last one I'm going to put into my sensory basket in this wee hole round here is the lemon thyme. Now, timo in Italian is thyme, probably about the only Italian word that I know. And it's claimed that thyme is the most extensively used herb in cooking across the world, adding depth of flavour to many dishes. But I'm using it here in my sensory basket because I like the sort of, you know, it's got tiny wee leaves. They're really dinky and delicate to look at, but it's kind of got a roughness to it. So it's a nice contrast to the other plants' leaves that I've put into my basket. So it's also got this yellowy kind of like variegation to it. This is a lemon thyme that I've got here. And on a calm, sunny day, the scent that just sort of wafts off of it without even having to rustle the foliage is really, really nice. And you get a wee blue flower on it as well in the summertime. So I'm going to pop that in there. So I've got a lovely selection of herbs in here that if I had loads of time, I would chat more about, and I would show filling in the compost like I did with the bag, filling it all in round about, then popping my whole plant out, wiggling it out and popping it back into the hole that had been created. But I'm conscious of the time, so I don't want to repeat an activity that I've already done. Now the basket works great because not everybody can get outside or even maybe out of a room if they're recuperating from an injury or something. So it's nice that you could actually take this roundabout and we can handle the herbs and talk about them, maybe even snip some of them off and stick them in a wee vase at the side of a bedside table for everybody to get the benefit of the herbs from. So that is my sensory basket. I want to show you the mint plant. This is a mint plant that I've got here, and this is an old mint plant. It's about 3 years old. It's desperately wanting potted out, taken out of this pot and potted into a bigger pot. Never, ever, ever, ever plant mint in the ground. It spreads like wildfire. It's one of the fewer herbs that likes damp, shady conditions. So maybe if you do have like a shady area in the garden, a couple of pots of this over there would be a lovely addition of some piece of interest in that area, but do not put it in the ground because you'll be there digging it out forever and a day. So although it's a rampant spreader, it is delicious. You've just got to have some mint in the garden. Chop it up fine, pick the fresh leaves. This is a young plant, and you can see all the young fresh leaves, whereas this is a plant that wasn't cut back last year, and you can see the old woody stems. These leaves are a bit chuck, you can tell by the brittleness of the stems. So what I'm going to do, this is going to get cut right back, and all the new growth will soon pop up from down below here. And this one here is a young plant, so you would snip these off, finely chop up the leaves, buy yourself a nice vanilla ice cream, and mix through, let the ice cream melt a little bit, then mix and stir in the finely chopped mint, and it will be the nicest mint ice cream you will ever enjoy. Delicious. You must try it. Mint is also used regularly for making a mint tea. It's really nice. And even like a cold cup of mint tea is really refreshing on a warm summer afternoon. And you can also rub mint leaves onto your teeth as a natural teeth whitener. So lots of, Jenny referred to that in the presentation, you know, like herbs have been used for donkey's years for lots of uses. And so it's good to continue using them along that way. So that's my mint. And the last one I just want to squeeze in, Jenny, is this wee tub of parsley here. Parsley, I consider it to be quite humble, and I don't know if that's just because it flavoured almost every soup and stew that my mum made when I was a wee girl. Parsley was in everything, and I just love parsley, so I do. And you know, maybe I'm showing my age here, but does anyone remember Parsley the Lion from the Herb Garden?
Yes.
Jenny, do you remember Parsley the Lion?
I do indeed.
I love the Herb Garden, so I just sometimes I just watch it on YouTube. Anyway, so this is parsley, and I probably would have said it was the most used herb in the kitchens across the world, but apparently it's time. Anyway, does really well in Scotland. Now, maybe in your setting you can't actively do gardening because you don't have an outdoor space that you can actually grow things in. I'm going to show you a wee trick here, and it's not even a trick. I've got one parsley pot here that you can buy at the supermarket, and I am going to lift this over here. I'm just going to half fill these pots. I'll just half fill 2 of them just because of the time. And squeezing this one out. And it sounds painful, but it's not. I'm just going to tear this plant into 3, and you can see that the roots come apart quite easily. The foliage above is a bit too fond of its pals, like so. Which there's wee plants here. I'm going to actually pot them up later on myself. They will bulk up in my polytunnel. Just going to wiggle a wee hole, wash them in there, move that one out the way, just so you can see what I'm doing. Fill the compost round about. I'm just firming it in with my thumb and finger. Give it a good drink of water, so that it's somewhere sheltered, so it's not getting battered by the wind. And this wee plant, this wee clump of parsley will soon clump up, and everybody, so we've had a wee gardening activity without having to go to too much bother about where we're going to keep all these things, because everybody could then take their own wee pot of parsley home with them and sit on their back door and have fresh parsley to put on top of whatever it is they're having for tea that night. So there you go, Jenny. That's me. I'm conscious of the time. Thanks very much. I'll switch off here and I'll come back to that talk.
Oh,
thank you.
Thank you very much, Joan. And that's just such a neat trick to use supermarket herbs, which are really easy to get a hold of and available in every supermarket. So that's lovely. You can divide them up and make many plants from them. So thanks to Joan for all those growing tips and cookery tips as well, especially mint ice cream. I'm looking forward to some of that. That'd be delicious. And that's great. So now we come to the part of the afternoon where we can ask some questions, and Margaret has got a question. She was interested in your tumbling tomatoes, Joan, in the basket, and she was wondering how many you had planted in that basket. Is it just one tumbling tomato and several? Yeah.
I think that one was, it was definitely one tomato plant, and it was a 12-inch basket, one tomato plant, one tumbling tomato plant, and I think it was only 2 marigolds put in there because they're the African marigolds, so they're the kind of pom-pom ones.
Okay.
I think they're really liking living next to the tomato because they're, woo.
going
Giant
absolutely wild.
African marigold, so they are.
Wild. That's lovely. Fantastic. Oh, thanks very much. So I wonder if anyone's got any other questions. If you'd like to raise your hand, there's a if you click on the three dots that says more, I think is that where it is, and go to reactions, you can raise your hand and I can ask you to unmute, then I know you want to speak to us. So if you have any questions, or perhaps you've got a favourite recipe that uses herbs that you'd like to share with us, or any other use of herbs that you've tried with your groups, please let us know, because we're always interested in sharing lots of different activities and recipes with other people, share them around and try them out. So if you have had experience of using herbs, please share with us. That'd be lovely. I think everybody's gone. That's it. They're away to the supermarket to get these herbs.
I know, that's exactly
it, doesn't it?
all that talk of food. I really want pizza for tea tonight.
Absolutely. I thought the planting up in a plastic bag is a great thing, because everybody's got plastic bags, isn't it? You don't have to go make a special trip to the garden centre to buy a pot or find it. I think it's really easy just to do it in a bag. And then of course you could use the handles to move it from place to place if you wanted to.
Yep. And that's like, so when you're filling the compost up, make sure the compost is all filled into the corner, so that if you were to unravel the bag up to carry it as a bag, keep its nice flat bottom shape. Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. Orla is popped in the chat there. She's been in 3 shops this morning looking for dill.
Right.
She didn't realise you could grow it here. Oh, Orla, I hope you get to find your dill. I don't know if I've seen that in the supermarket growing in a pot. Have I?
I don't think I've seen it.
Yeah, I've seen it cut in packets, but
you'll get them in the garden centres, and like a proper garden centre or plant nursery always has dill at this time of the year, but maybe not the supermarkets, not growing in a pot anyway.
Oh, that's lovely. And Sarah, would you like to tell us about your drying your mint? Would you like to unmute and tell us about that? Are you there?
Hi, yes. No, it was just mentioning it because it's easy, because I just took a length of wool and tied up the individual, not the individual leaves, but when the plant got really big, I cut off stems and tied them across it every few inches on the string, just in a sunny spot. And it dried really well. I didn't bother saving the stalks, but the leaves are just crumbled into a bowl and then just put them in a jam jar.
Oh, yeah.
Great. It was just because it was very easy to do, that it just took care of itself, which is what I like.
Absolutely. We all like easy things or simple things. Yeah, absolutely. Great idea. I might try that actually, because I've got my window here. I've got a chair that sits over there, and it would actually it would be like, it would get all that sunlight. Great idea, Sarah. I might be copying that.
Good.
Thanks, Sarah. And Margaret's saying that she grows herbs from seed, but she loves the supermarket idea, splitting up the supermarket herbs. That's great. Margaret, maybe you could unmute and tell us which herbs you like to grow from seed, because that's quite interesting to know what does well for you. Would you do that?
Well, I've managed to do the basil, but it took a long time to master it. And I just keep bottles of water at room temperature, and like Joan was saying, water from the bottom. And parsley takes an awful long time to grow, but if you're patient, it comes up. I find the what do you call it, lemon balm, that is a really fast grower. But I didn't do that from seed. I couldn't seem to grow them from seed, so I did that for the supermarket ones. So it's really parsley and the basil that I grow from seed, and I've had success with that.
Great. Oh, well, that might inspire us all to have a wee go with the seeds as well.
I like just watching them growing and being and it's just so inspiring to see them grow. And the basil grows very slowly, but and the parsley as well. But it's just so satisfying to do it yourself.
Yeah. Chives grow quite quick. I found that chives from seed grow quite quickly. So maybe you could try that, Margaret.
Yes, I have tried. I forgot the chives. Yes, the chives. But once I've got them in the garden, I tend to just divide them. But yeah, they grow very quickly and they spread everywhere. Yeah, nice and simple. Very simple. But I like all the ideas that you're coming up with the ice cream and flavoring it with the mint and the lemon balm, you know.
Yeah, it's all really simple ideas, easy to do, but it's a good way of using your herbs with you know, in a different way that might engage some others to join in and enjoy fresh herbs.
Yeah, I'm going to try the chicken with the lemon balm. I think that sounds delicious. Thank you for doing that and telling us.
You're welcome.
Lovely. Sarah, would you like to unmute? You've got your hand up there.
Thank you. It was just a quick question from Margaret, who has just mentioned about the basil. I've grown some basil from seed as well, but I'm absolutely terrified to put it outside now that I've actually got some. Do you plant yours outside or do you keep it in?
No, it's not successful outside because it can be very cold rain that hits it. But I just grow on the windowsill. But this year, I'm actually going to put it in a kind of like a wee mini greenhouse. It's just really a big plastic box that's see-through. So I'm going to try that. So it gives it a sheltered, and I can put a sheet of glass over the box to stop the heavy rain hitting it. But so it likes the heat, it likes the sun. But it you can't really get those conditions in Scotland. But I'm going to try that. I'm going to experiment this year and see how it goes. But yeah, but inside, I would think I would keep the basil inside on your kitchen windowsill.
Thank you. I will continue to pamper it.
Yeah, you'll get there.
Thanks, Margaret. Sarah, I have a little bit of success with basil outdoors during the summertime. From now through till about August, I'll manage to keep my basil going and then I struggle thereafter. But I've got a sort of overhang at my house here so that the cold rain doesn't fall on top of where that basil will go. It's getting the sun shining on it and it's sheltered, so the temperature does get the chance to build up a little bit. But I've got to water it because it gets no direct rainfall in there. So if you maybe got a sheltered spot, you could maybe have two pots. I've got 3 fingers up. Two pots. One outside in a sheltered spot and one indoors, as Margaret suggests, on the windowsill.
That's great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Can I ask another question as well? Just very briefly, I missed when you did the sensory basket, you had a plant with white flowers?
Oh, chamomile.
Ah, okay. Thank you. I wasn't sure.
Okay.
Lovely. Thanks, Sarah. Has anyone else got a question for us or would like to share some of their herb growing experience or activities that they do with them before we go?
I heard something about lemon balm. It was on a gardening program. The gardener was rubbing it all over his skin, and he said that gave him confidence to go for interviews, seeing the smell of lemon balm. So rub it on all over if you're going somewhere important.
There we go. There's a top tip. I think we'll stop there. We'll finish on a high note with the lemon balm. Thank you very much. That's lovely. And thank you very much for all of you for joining us today. And a very big thank you to Joan. Thanks for your demonstration, Joan. That was great. We look forward to seeing you at our next sessions. And you can meet us in person at Scone Palace Garden Fair. That's happening on the 2nd and the 3rd of June, where we have a stall and we're on the plant creche. So we'd be delighted to meet you in person if you can make it along to Scone. And you can catch us again online in a live demo session. We're making sun catchers using pressed flowers on the 8th of June at 10:30, and we're also getting some fantastic information on how to dry flowers in a microwave, which I'm totally intrigued about, and looking forward to finding out all about that. That's on the 8th of June. You can register free on our website. And of course, there's the YouTube channel. You can catch up on videos. But before we go, Joan, I believe, is going to share a short video with us. Joan.
Okay. This is just to wind up the session. It's a wee Bouquet Garni, how to make a Bouquet Garni video. Here we go. There we go.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. Well, we're off now. Have a very happy World Therapeutic Gardening Day. Happy gardening.